and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Got a fascinating tour for you today. We're here at Woodchester Park in Gloucestershire and we're going to uncover the story of an unfinished mansion, one of the fantastic Gothic revival designs probably anywhere in the world. So we're going to have a look around. Last chance to see it for the end of the year. It is open for Halloween. I'm not kind of interested in that kind of stuff, but it kind of adds atmosphere because it lends itself to this. It's quite a creepy place here. We're in a former deer park. I seem to keep coming across deer parks. It was established around the 1760s, but it's also got links to my vlog, which I did the other day when I was telling you about Bucknell the architect. So where are we today on West Country Wanderings? Well, I'll put a map up, but we are between the villages of Nymphsfield and Woodchester, and we're sited in a deep sided valley which has a series of some 6 lakes, former fish lakes, which we've come across before when we're at Horton Court, and they were used pre-mansion days. I'll tell you more. Now, for the camera and photography aficionados amongst you, I know there's a few of you that subscribe and watch my channel, I have today come equipped with another camera. I've actually got an Olympus. Now, if you cast your mind back to one of my earliest videos, I told you my photography story and the fact that in my earliest days, perhaps, oh gosh, too many years, 40 odd years ago, I used to use an Olympus OM30. Back in the analog days, I used to shoot on Kodachrome slides. But today, I've got a fantastic OMD EM1. We're going to try this out today. I've been using it a little bit. It's actually not mine. It's on loan from one of my relatives. Thank you very much, Andy. Really appreciate it. This is a fantastic camera. And I like my Canon camera. It is fully waterproof. We have got rain forecast later. Hopefully, I'll be finished filming before then, but just in case, I have got this as a backup to take some stills and video inside the mansion here. Now, before we drill down into the detail of why this mansion was built, and more importantly, why it was unfinished, just wanted to tell you about a couple of personal connections I've got to Woodchester Park and this area. Obviously, you probably be following my channel, you'll know that I spent a lot of time in the Devon and Cornwall area, living up in that area, and then I've recently moved back to Gloucestershire, which is where I'm from originally. My father was born in the Potteries in Stoke-on-Trent, and he moved down to Gloucestershire when he was quite young. And my father's mother's brother, in fact 2 of them, were monks in the Dominican monasteries. And one of the brothers was actually here at Woodchester at the monastery, which is some 2.5 miles along the other side of the valley. Now we've got time, I'll try and capture some images of that. If not, we'll save that for a later video. The reason that's important for today's story is that there is a very big connection between that monastery, the Catholic Church at Woodchester, and this mansion. They're all part of the same story. They are all kind of the same package. And as I say, my father's uncle was here for a number of years, added to which the monastery was given the responsibility to look after this park. This is in the prior to the National Trust days. It's now National Trust property, although the mansion itself is not owned by the National Trust. It's now looked after by a separate preservation trust, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. But the monastery had the key to the entrance to the park. Yes, you had to have a key in those days. You couldn't come in the way I've come in today from the Nymphsfield direction and the National Trust car park. You had to enter from the Woodchester end. You had a key to unlock the gate to enable you to get into the park. It is kind of a strange place. It has a stillness about it. I've just walked down from the car park. It's quite high there because it's on the edge of the Cotswolds scarp, so it catches the wind. But we've just dropped down in more into the valley now, and you can sense there's a stillness here. There is certainly an atmosphere. There is a strange feeling about this place. So why not join me and uncover some more? So that's the first glimpse of the mansion behind. There it is in all its glory. We'll get some closer up shots and I'll tell you more about the history. The story behind why I'm here today is the fact that this property, the mansion, is only open for viewings on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. And indeed, this Sunday is the last Sunday that it's open for 6 months. It goes into its closed period for the winter. It will not reopen until April. So it was my last chance to come and do it. Added to which, it's half term, and I know it's going to be a bit busy later. It's quiet at the moment. The property opens at 11 o'clock in about an hour or so. It's going to be a chance to tell you a little bit more about it before the large crowds arrive, because it's a Halloween event here today, which is quite appropriate for the theme of the mansion. But so yeah, it was a chance to get it here. We've also got some interesting sheep here. Do a close-up on those, and I've forgotten the name. They're like a cross between a sheep and a goat. They're a particular species, but they're pretty hardy, and you often see them in these parts of the Cotswolds. Now, the mansion itself is built in local limestone. It's in the Gothic Revival style, and it has basically two floors to it. It also includes a chapel, which is partially built as well, and we'll have a look at that when we go inside later. The south front is extensively glazed. It's actually, because it was unfinished, there wasn't glass in it, but perspex glass has been placed in it now to protect the integrity of the building from the elements. Or dog heads that you see, I'll just insert those now, were actually dogs of William Leigh's daughter. It's actually his eldest daughter, the one that died of TB. So the mansion behind me, as you can see, the scaffolding is up. It's to protect the integrity of the building, and to make sure that there is no further deterioration in the building or in the nature of it. And it's there. It's not a project to complete the work that William Leigh did, but it's there just to protect and conserve the nature of the building, because obviously of its historical content, and the fact that obviously things like water penetration could damage the mortar. That's why they're working on it, and obviously they raise funds to protect and to keep the conservation of the building going. Now, the main person to tell you about to do with the history of the mansion is one William Leigh. But before we come on to him, just to tell you that the park, Woodchester Park, predates William Leigh by some 100 or so years. It was an established deer park before then. I'll drop in the name of the people that were involved in setting the park up, because I can't remember them. I didn't drop them in my notes, so apologies for that. But it was set up as a deer park, and then shortly afterwards the ponds were dug out to get fish stocks for nearby estates in the area. So who was William Leigh? Sometimes he was known as Willie Leigh, but confusingly his father was also known as William, and his grandfather too, and also his son. So it gets a little bit confusing for all the Williams. But anyway, the William Leigh that I'm referring to is the one that had the mansion built. Now, he was born in 1802 in Liverpool, in fact in Duke Street in Liverpool, and his father traded in salt. William Leigh went to Oxford College. In fact, before then he went to Eton, and he didn't actually complete his degree at Oxford College. When he finished at Oxford University, he then went on to travel around Europe with his mother for some 6 years. So he came from quite a wealthy family. There weren't many families that could afford to travel for some 6 years, certainly not at his age, before he would have built up any form of career or his savings. But so he was living on the money from his father's wealth in trading in salt. His father also traded in tobacco and ceramics as well. Now, after he'd done all that travelling, when he was 26 years old in 1828, he married into the Cottrell family from Herefordshire. In fact, they were a Catholic family, and this is where William actually got his religious interest from, which is very significant as we'll come on to telling the story about the mansion. And he sold the hall he was living in on Merseyside and bought a property further south in Staffordshire. William set up family there, Little Aston Hall in Staffordshire, and later they had a son, as I said, also called William. Now, by this time, William had turned his attention to religion full-time, particularly to a branch of religion based in Oxford called Tractarianism. No doubt his links when he was at the university being pulled on then. He later branched into Catholicism, and he wanted to set up a community, and one which didn't have any existing links to the Catholic Church. Now, this is where Woodchester came in, because at that time there was no Catholic Church or indeed Catholic influence for more than 100 miles radius of the area. So he set about moving from Staffordshire, and he moved into a place called the Cottage here at Woodchester Park. Now, sadly, the cottage has since fallen into disrepair. I'll see if I can find some remains of it, because they are at the back of the mansion, and according to the website there is still a retaining wall in place. Now, he befriended a religious man called Father Dominic Barberi, and in conjunction with him he decided to build a Catholic church, the Church of the Immaculate Conception here at Woodchester, just over the other side of the valley. And he set about building that in conjunction with Barberi, because he set about him a promise to establish the Catholic Church in this area. Now, when the monastery was completed in 1853, with Leigh actually fronting up quite a large proportion of the total cost of the building, he then turned his attention to the mansion here at Woodchester Park. Sadly, his eldest daughter, that's the one with who owned the 4 dogs, she was called Blanche. She died in the 1850s. It was actually in 1852. Now, there are some reports to indicate, well, she did definitely die of TB, but there are some reports to indicate she contracted TB after painting the Stations of the Cross on the walls in the Catholic Church at Woodchester. Obviously, she spent a considerable amount of time there, and it would have been damp, there would have been no heating, and that's probably why she caught TB. Now, William Leigh commissioned one Benjamin Bucknell, who I have spoken about previously because he was born at nearby Robborough, just the other side of Stroud, and he was a well-known architect at the time, so he employed Bucknell to design the mansion, which he indeed did, and building begun here in 1853. Now, during construction there was further personal tragedy for William because his youngest daughter also died of TB. Also, Bucknell was establishing himself as a well-known architect, but he moved to South Wales, to Swansea, which meant that he could spend less and less time here in Gloucestershire to oversee the mansion building project. Added to which there were a number of problems with the workmen, and because of this the number of workmen were declining and progress on the mansion was slow. Now, sadly, William Leigh's health deteriorated in the 1860, and he died in 1871 at the age of 71. Sadly, of course, the mansion was not finished. William Leigh spent £20,000 building it to what it had got to an extent. His wife carried on living at the cottage behind the mansion for a few more years, but she sadly dies, although a couple of his children also lived at the cottage, and then in 1900 the cottage became empty and then fell into dereliction. But of course the mansion lives on. It still lives here in this wonderful valley in Woodchester Park. It now has a new useful purpose. People come here to train in the art of stonemasonry, and the future stonemasons could well have trained here at Woodchester Park and Woodchester Mansion. The aim is to conserve all of the building as William Leigh left it, not to finish the project off to make sure there's no deterioration with it, but obviously that's a huge undertaking at great cost. So that is the reason that the property is open for visitors, so they can raise funds to do that. They are a charity conservation trust. I'll put the links in below for that if you are interested in visiting the mansion, but as I say, by the time this video lands, it will now not be open, sadly, until April, late April of next year, 2022. The added benefit is that Woodchester Park is now part of the National Trust. They work with the local farmers. There are sheep farmers and other farmers around the area, so the land still has use. It's a wonderful place for nature, for woodland, for birds and biodiversity, so it is a great place to come. There are of course the 6 lakes and also a boathouse, and I'll insert an image of that now, so it's a good place to come and explore. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video today, exploring Woodchester Park and uncovering the story of the unfinished Gothic mansion here. If you did, please consider a like, subscribe, share or comment. Until next time, take care of yourselves, all the best. Cheers, bye bye for now.